Nora Van Dyke unlocked the front door of Whiskers and Watercolours just as dawn pinked the sky above the Prinsengracht. Canal water lapped the quay, and bicycles clicked past on their way to the early markets, their bells chiming like muted silver. Inside, the café was still dim, showing only silhouettes of rattan chairs, the low stage where open mic poetry nights were held, and 9 shapes that stretched and yawned in unison. Marcel, an elderly silver tabby Maine Coon the size of a small dog, wound around Nora's calves. "Morning, monsieur," she whispered, scratching the spot between his tufted ears. One by one the other cats padded over. Pip, a restless calico who hunted dust motes. Rembrandt, an orange bruiser with a kinked tail. Luna, ink-black and silent. Griet, blue-eyed and aloof. And 3 young rescues who still answered to Kitten 1, 2, and 3. Nora flipped on warm pendant lamps shaped like teacups, sending buttery light over the cat shelves that spiraled up exposed brick walls. She loved this first hush of the day, when the scent of espresso had not yet elbowed aside the smell of old timber and canal mist. She was rifling through beans from Guatemala and humming an out-of-tune chanson when she noticed what was missing. Willem de Graaf's whistle. The café's manager always arrived 10 minutes before her, balancing pastry boxes on his Vespa, whistling Que sera, sera. His helmet wasn't on its hook. Nora told herself not to worry. Amsterdam traffic could turn a 5-minute commute into a 20-minute crawl. But Marcel planted his huge paws on the counter and stared at her, slow blinking, then trotted toward the staircase that led to the upstairs office. "You want breakfast first?" Nora called. Marcel looked back, flicked his tail, and continued upward. A drip of unease slid down her spine. She followed. The office door stood ajar. Nora nudged it wider with a knuckle, eyes adjusting to dimness. Papers lay scattered like snowdrifts. The small antique safe behind Willem's desk gaped open. On the floor among tipped stacks of saucer-sized watercolor palettes lay Willem himself, face turned sideways beneath a halo of auburn curls. One hand clutched his chest, the other stretched toward a puddle of shattered porcelain no bigger than dice. Nora's knees folded and she knelt beside him. His skin was cool. She felt for a pulse she already knew wasn't there. A faint red scratch marked the side of his neck, as if from a claw. Panic roared in her ears, but the cats remained uncannily calm, forming a silent semicircle near the doorway, Marcel in the lead, tails low like flags in mourning. "Oh, Willem," she whispered, brushing curls from his forehead. "What happened?" Outside, a cargo boat's horn bellowed. It sounded like grief. Inspector Saskia Voss, short, grey-haired, pragmatic, arrived with paramedics who confirmed a fatal heart attack. "Probably instantaneous," they murmured. But Saskia's eyes lingered on the open safe and its apparent emptiness. She sealed the office in crime scene tape and ordered the café shut for the day. Nora sat downstairs with a cup of cold coffee she had no memory of brewing, while 6 baffled felines prowled her ankles. Her student loan statements, quietly mocking from her apron pocket, suddenly felt irrelevant. "I know it looks like natural causes," Saskia told her, jotting notes at a corner table. "But Willem's neighbor reported someone climbing the fire escape last night. And you say the safe usually held small porcelain figurines, miniatures," Nora corrected automatically. 17th century dollhouse pieces. Willem adored them. He called them portable wonder. "A strange thing to keep in a cat cafe. Everything about this place is strange." Saskia gave a kind smile. "Strange can be lovely, but until I'm sure what happened, remain available for questions. And don't touch anything upstairs." When the inspector left, Nora locked the door behind her, slid to the floor, and cried into Marcel's ruff. Rembrandt head-butted her shin. Pip sneezed in solidarity. Then, as though remembering a duty, Pip dashed up the staircase. Moments later the calico reappeared, a shard of white porcelain in her mouth. She dropped it in Nora's palm. Paint flecks clung to the edge. An intense ultramarine, so pure it suggested hand-ground lapis. Nora studied fine arts restoration before switching to illustration. She knew the pigment was too dear for mass-produced trinkets. "Portable wonder," she whispered. Willem's safe had been full last night. The thief had stolen more than tiny curios. Maybe it had cost Willem his life. By late afternoon, word of the tragic closure spread along the Prinsengracht. Friends left flowers. Regulars deposited tins of tuna for the cats. A man in beige overalls taped a mural poster to the railing, a new piece by Kraat, Amsterdam's favourite and elusive street artist, to be unveiled that weekend in nearby Jordan. The poster showed a tabby wielding a spray can, captioned, "Art should roam." Nora traced the blocky signature. She knew Crack's real name, Luca Moretti, because they'd shared critique classes at the Rietveld Academy. Luca quit after the faculty criticized his vandalistic tendency. Nora had dropped out a semester later, overwhelmed by tuition and self-doubt. Willem offered her a part-time barista job that became full-time, with paint breaks on slow afternoons. She owed him her sanity. She found Luca under the Lekker Hollands Bridge, outlining a stenciled heron in cobalt. "They're saying Willem had a heart attack," he said, wiping painty fingers on his jeans. "But rumours travel quicker than the trams. You think something's off?" "He kept priceless miniatures in an office above 9 curious cats," Nora replied, remembering the claw mark on Willem's neck. "Now they're gone." Luca frowned. "Miniatures? You mean those dollhouse things stolen from the Rijksmuseum last month? The heist people still whisper about?" Nora's stomach knotted. The Rijks exhibition had been robbed of 16 pieces, smaller than a thimble silver candlesticks, a Delft tureen, a lute no bigger than a grasshopper. Security footage showed nothing. "Do you think Willem was involved? Or he got in the way? Any leads?" "Only this." She held up the shard Pip had gifted her. The lapis paint glimmered in the weak sun. Luca whistled. "Looks like old Holland pigment. Few people mix that grade. Maybe your culprit paints for a living like half the city?" "Half our friends, you mean," Nora said bleakly. Marcel emerged from under Luca's folding step-stool, startling them both. The big cat must have tailed her from the café. He meowed once, then strolled toward the canal, pausing to glance back. Nora followed, puzzled. Luca shrugged and came too. Marcel led them 3 blocks to a squat warehouse sprouting ivy. Inside, trestle tables groaned under spray cans, chisels, and a zillion shards of mirrored glass. This was the den of Saskia Tromp, the septuagenarian mosaicist, who concocted shimmering murals along the eastern docklands. She looked up from gluing bottle green fragments into a mermaid's tail. "Condolences, child," she said, voice raspy from decades of kiln dust. "Your Willem was a superb espresso artisan." "Thank you," Nora said. Marcel leapt onto a stool and batted something under Saskia's table. Nora bent, a roll of onion skin tracing paper. Unfurled, it revealed a map of central Amsterdam. Tiny red X's peppered it. Next to one drawn just beside the café, someone had scribbled in blue ink, "Shipment Friday night." Saskia coughed. "That's not mine. Probably that Arjun kid leaves things everywhere. He rents workspace in the back." Nora's breath lodged in her throat. Arjun Willems, another former Academy colleague, specialized in hyper-realistic cat portraits, rendered at postage stamp scale. Talent matched only by his ego. He'd begged Willem to showcase his miniature canvases, but Willem politely declined, saying his guest preferred more cat-personable art. Nora exchanged a look with Luca. Luca mouthed, "Blue ink, blue paint." That evening, the café cats grew restless. Pip clawed at the kitchen door. Rembrandt body-blocked Nora when she tried to ascend to the closed office. She sat at the bottom stair, suspicious. "What are you telling me?" Pitt darted through Nora's legs and scrambled up unseen steps to the attic, a crawl space usually padlocked. The lock now dangled broken. Heart thumping, Nora climbed after her, phone torch in hand. The attic smelled of cedar and turpentine. Dust motes waltzed in the beam of light. Against the far wall stood a wooden dollhouse, wardrobe-sized and grand as a canal mansion. Its shuttered windows were glazed with mica. Its roof folded back like a jewellery box. Inside, miniature rooms displayed exquisite furniture, only they were in disarray. Tinny chairs toppled, a cradle overturned, an ivory chess set missing half its pieces. Pinned to the roof interior was a receipt dated 2 weeks prior. Slee, and Zoon Anticute Pitching Service. Item: dollhouse with contents, incomplete. Consignee: W. de Gruff. Nora swallowed. Willem had acquired this secretly. Why? Behind her, Pip yowled triumphantly. The calico pawed at a neat wooden case. Nora knelt, opened it, and gasped. Nestled in velvet were 10 miniature objects. Silver candlesticks, Delft tureen, ivory lute, the stolen Rijks pieces. Each had a price tag written in blue ink. Nora's pulse pounded like rolling pins on tabletops. Willem had possession of contraband masterpieces. Maybe he planned to return them, or sell them. The latter didn't fit Willem's gentle soul. Movement sounded on the stair. Luca's voice whispered, "Nora? Your phone switched to voicemail, and I worried." "Up here," she called. He emerged, took in the dollhouse and the velvet case. His eyes widened. Hole! So Willem had the Rijks loot, or was hiding it. Ajen's map said shipment Friday night, Nora said. That's tomorrow. Willem must have planned to hand these over, maybe to police. Somebody stopped him. And whoever still wants them shipped, Luca finished. Meaning they'll come looking. Rembrandt squeezed past Luca, sniffed the case, then sneezed explosively, scattering cat hair onto the velvet. Luca chuckled darkly. If our thief's allergic, that'll leave a mark. The next day, the inspector updated Nora. Toxicology found traces of etophene in Willem's blood, an animal tranquilizer. Someone immobilized him, then nature took an assisted course, Saskia said grimly. Do you know anyone with access to veterinary drugs? Nora thought of Pip's claw mark. Cats ate treats from every visitor. Someone could have smeared etophene on a treat Willem tasted absent-mindedly while closing. She told Saskia about the attic dollhouse. The inspector's face lit with fierce astonishment. The Rijks pieces? We've only recovered fakes so far. Where are they? Nora hesitated. Safe, she said. And I have a plan. Friday evening. Whiskers and Watercolours reopened for a celebration of Willem's life and miniature art. An event Nora posted across social media that morning. She invited all former classmates, neighbourhood artists and regular patrons, anyone who might have motive. Luca promised to handle music and ensure Arjen showed. Nora arranged the recovered miniatures inside a glass cloche on the main counter, label reading, "Not for sale," for Willem. Beneath the glass, she sprinkled catnip to discourage curious human fingers and encourage feline guardianship. The cats took shifts, circling the cloche like furry sentinels. People arrived with condolences and home-baked stroopwafels, among them Saskia the mosaicist, smelling of grout. Mr. Conrad the canal boat woodcarver, a gaggle of academy kids sporting more piercings than scarves. And finally Arjen Willems, hair slicked, backpack slung. Blue paint dotted his cuticles. He pressed a kiss to Nora's cheek, leaving a faint smear of ultramarine. What talent you displayed tonight, he said, eyeing the miniatures. Astonishing replicas. Your handiwork, Willem's, Nora answered. Ah. Arjen's nostrils quivered. He sneezed twice. Cat hair, he muttered, fishing in his pocket for tissues. Can't stay long. Stay for the toast, she urged. Willem would be honoured. While Luca strummed an acoustic guitar, crack incognito, Nora watched Arjen's reflection in the espresso machine's chrome. He tried to edge toward the counter, but Marcel sat atop it like a moustached sphinx. Arjen wiped his streaming eyes, retreated toward the stockroom door labelled Staff Only. He glanced around, then slipped inside. Nora signalled Saskia Voss, stationed near the stage in plain clothes. The inspector nodded and melted after Arjen. Nora counted silently. 1, 2, 3. A crash exploded from the stockroom. Cats hissed. Guests gasped. Saskia emerged, gripping Arjen's arm. His backpack split open to reveal bubble wrap, empty specimen jars and a syringe snug inside a sunglasses case. "Enough games," Saskia declared, voice echoing off tin ceilings. "Mr. Willems, you are under arrest for the murder of Willem de Graaf and theft of historic property." Arjen sputtered, eyes watering, face blotched. "You can't prove—" "Gloves," Saskia ordered. Nora fetched the dish gloves she'd hidden behind the counter. The inspector used tongs to retrieve the syringe. "A torphiline residue, no doubt. Purchased with your student vet tech discount. Yes, I checked the database." She turned to the crowd. "He planned to dose the cats so he could swap originals for fakes, but Willem interrupted." Arjen's bravado leaked away. "He was going to ruin everything," he bellowed. "Those pieces are worth more than my entire career. He wanted to return them, make me confess. He said art should be loved, not stockpiled by oligarchs." Arjen spat the words like bitter grits. "He was naïve." "So you sedated him?" "A cat scratched him as he fell," Saskia finished. "Then you fled with the miniatures. When you realized Nora had uncovered them, you RSVP'd tonight to steal them again." Arjen sneezed. "Damn fur machines," he muttered, glaring at Rembrandt, now rubbing his smug ginger face against Arjen's ankle. Applause broke out. Small, stunned at first, then broad and rolling. Even the mosaicist clapped, shards of mirror glinting in her hair like confetti. Later, after statements, after forensics collected the syringe, after the last sympathizer departed with tear-damp cheeks and cat hair souvenirs, Nora sat on the café roof deck above fairy-lit terraces. The air smelled of cinnamon and canal water. Saskia Voss leaned on the railing, city lights wobbling in the black glass below. "The Reich's pieces will be back on display soon," the inspector said. "And the museum has offered you a reward." Nora stroked Pip, purring in her lap. "I'd like the money donated to the animal shelter where Willem volunteered." "Generous?" Saskia hesitated. "You'll keep running the café?" "For a while. But I'm re-enrolling at the academy part-time. Illustration with a minor in conservation studies. Maybe I'll specialize in miniatures." She smiled at Marcel, perched like a captain on the railing. Portable wonder. From the canal, music drifted. Someone playing accordion on a houseboat, notes bubbling like champagne. Luca appeared carrying 2 paper cups. "Hot chocolate," he said, handing one to Nora. "Brack's treat." He turned to leave, but Nora caught his sleeve. "The mural you're unveiling tomorrow need an assistant." "Always," he grinned. "Consider it extracurricular." They sipped in comfortable silence. Downstairs, the cats chased ghosts among chair legs. Nora pictured Willem watching from wherever gentle souls go, whistling a soft refrain. "Art should roam," Luca's poster had said, but wonder, Nora thought, belongs with those who cherish it. Here, on a quiet canal, in a café guarded by whiskered detectives and people who loved color more than gold, art had found its home. Again.